coming off one day, we're out on a night drive, get back around just sunset, gearing up. And in the morning it was still dark, and I'm walking down the aircraft, but the sun was just coming in the window of the plane just enough. And I just happened to glance up, and I saw a little hole, or 2 or 3 little holes the size of a toonie here and there, up in the, what it was flak. As far as I know, it goes up as a bomb and explodes into maybe 100 pieces. And if these little pieces hit a pilot, hit the engine, or hit the right spot, he's done a fair bit of harm already, you know.
We got word from the group that we're going back to England for D-Day. I guess the 5th of June, we were called over to the commander's office, and he was giving a briefing on tomorrow morning, boys, is when we go. And it was a big day, really big day. We weren't prepared to see the number of ships and aircraft and gliders that they saw that stretched from coast to coast. You could easily make out what was happening on the beach. They were putting people off in when it should be shallow and deep, and they're going underwater with the tanks and troops with their gear on. But other than that, there were lots of good things, and the landing was a success. But there were a lot of suffering from it.
From the Azores to England, you flew from there up to the southern tip of England. We had a sort of a 10.5-hour flight plan to fly into southern England. So, but when we got about 300 miles away, we hit terrible headwinds. We couldn't get rid of the headwinds. We could see the coast. Our gas tank meters were reading 0, and we were just bouncy. So we finally got into the tip there, and we saw a runway, and we said, "Oh God, that must be St. Maughan." And the tower gave us a green light, which is a normal thing when you had lots of communications. They use red lights and green lights. We managed to land on the airstrip, and then as the tail came down, the little bit of fuel left there, our engines cut out. And then when we landed, they said, "You're not at St. Maughan, you're at St. Evel." And so luckily we said, "Well, we're out of fuel. Somebody come out and tow us."
You aren't entitled to your own airplane until you put in about 30 ops. See, but I only had about 9. But the pulver was being used as a spare because nobody wanted it, because somebody else had named it. They wanted to put their own name on it. So I asked the CEO if I could have it, and he gave it to me on my 9th op. It took 4 of them to get me through the war. Second pulverizer, the Americans were fighting the Battle of the Bulge down in the Ardennes, and it was snowing. So they were deprived of their air support, and they were taking a real beating down there. They lost a lot of men. So we went down there to help the Thunderbolts. We were strafing all the German vehicles that were stuck at a roads crossings. And I was strafing the tank, and ground fire damaged my tail. So I climbed it up to 7,000 feet. I got it back to Holland, and then I bailed out. Bailing out of a Typhoon is tricky. Any fighter, the way you bail out, you get rid of the hood, and you bunt the stick forward, and it throws you out of the plane. But when you don't have a tail, you can't do that. So I had to eject the side and the roof. And I laid down on my side onto the wing and slid down the wing so I wouldn't hit the tailplane. So that was a tricky bailout. I was hit 6 times, but I was never hit personally. I can't remember anybody that was hit personally. No, it was always the airplane that got the beating.
There were many, many people involved in Army, Navy, and the Air Force. And many, many were doing their job, doing it for their country. And like I told you once before, that to have that Canada badge on your shoulder amongst everyone else meant something.